Something big could be happening with the Iraqi dinar, and the buzz is getting louder than ever. The conversation right now is centered on two major points that have been at the top of every watcher's checklist for years: lower denomination notes and banks reportedly on standby for a major change. These two signs, when discussed together, always fuel huge speculation about what's coming next. And now, in 2025, the talk feels different. It feels bigger, closer, and more coordinated. The excitement is spreading fast, and people want to know if we're on the edge of a major turning point for Iraq's currency. So, let's break it all down: what these lower denominations mean, why banks being ready is such a big deal, and what could be coming next. For those who are newer to the conversation, here's the quick version. The Iraqi dinar right now is mostly made up of large bills like 25,000 and 50,000 notes. For everyday purchases, this can be inconvenient. Imagine going to buy groceries and having to hand over huge notes just for small items. That's where lower denominations, such as 5, 10, 20, or even coins, come into the picture. These smaller notes only make sense if the currency has more value. In other words, you wouldn't print a 10 dinar note unless it could actually buy something meaningful. This is why the introduction of lower denominations is often seen as a signal that a currency's value is increasing, or that the country is preparing for a stronger, more stable economy. Think about what this would look like in real life. Instead of carrying thick stacks of high-value notes, people in Iraq could soon be handing over a crisp new 10 or 20 dinar bill for everyday items. Just like you see in countries with stronger currencies. This shift wouldn't just make life easier for Iraqi citizens. It would also signal to the world that Iraq's economy is maturing and stabilizing. It's one of the clearest signs that monetary reform is in motion. And for investors who have been holding dinar for years, it's the kind of news they've been waiting for. Because it could mean a revaluation or rate adjustment is finally moving closer. Now, here's where the second piece of the puzzle comes in: banks being on standby. This phrase has been floating around a lot lately, and it's getting people's attention. If banks really are ready for a major change, it could mean they already have systems in place, staff trained, and procedures ready to launch. Banks would be the first to handle any new lower notes, distributing them to the public and managing the transition. And if an exchange rate change were to happen, banks would also be the ones handling currency exchanges for both local citizens and international holders of the dinar. The idea that everything could already be set up and just waiting for a green light is why people are watching so closely right now. The conversation gets even more intense when you combine both ideas: lower denominations and banks on standby, because together they paint a picture of readiness. For years, these two events have been seen as key milestones for those watching Iraq's currency situation. Anytime they're mentioned at the same time, speculation skyrockets. People start to ask, is the government about to make an announcement? Is the central bank about to roll out a new phase of monetary reform? Could this finally be the start of the long-awaited change that's been discussed for over a decade? The fact that both topics are being talked about together right now makes this moment feel different from past rumors. Of course, speculation always comes with a warning. Nothing is official until it's announced. Some experts remind people that lower denominations could be introduced simply as part of normal currency modernization, without any dramatic rate change. They argue that banks preparing could just mean they're updating their systems for regular operations. While that's true, the timing and combination of these events still fuel the idea that something bigger may be at play. After all, Iraq has been steadily making moves toward financial stability, building reserves, working with international partners, and improving its banking infrastructure. Every piece of this puzzle adds to the possibility that we could be getting closer to a major shift. Let's take a step back and remember why this matters so much. For people inside Iraq, introducing lower denominations could make daily life much easier, removing the need to carry large bills for small purchases. For investors outside Iraq, it could be the first visible sign of a revaluation or at least a significant strengthening of the dinar. And for Iraq itself, it could mark a turning point in showing the world that it's ready for modern, stable, and internationally respected currency practices. That's why the buzz isn't just local, it's global. Dinar holders from all over are watching every update, every rumor, and every hint of progress. There's also the timeline to think about. Many in the community are asking if a date might already be set for these changes. While no one can confirm exact timing, some observers are pointing to the fact that discussions about monetary reform have been increasing in recent weeks. Meetings between Iraqi financial leaders, hints from central bank statements, and quiet coordination behind the scenes are all fueling the idea that the wait may not be much longer. In the world of currency watchers, any sign of movement, especially involving lower notes and bank sets off a wave of speculation that's hard to ignore. One reason this feels more McRoach now in 2025 is that Iraq has already laid much of the groundwork for change. Over the past few years, the country has strengthened its foreign reserves, improved its banking systems, and taken steps to stabilize its economy. This preparation makes the introduction of new, lower denominations more than just possible, it makes it practical. If the currency value does rise, these smaller notes will be essential for everyday transactions. Without them, a sudden rate change would make the current high-value notes awkward for daily life, forcing people to carry huge bills for small purchases. For those holding on to dinar outside Iraq, the scenario they imagine is simple: walking into a bank and seeing a new rate on the screen for the first time. Instead of being told we don't exchange that, they could be directed to a prepared desk where trained staff are ready to process their currency. That moment, if it comes, would be the payoff for years of patience. That's why every whisper of lower notes and bank readiness creates such a wave of excitement. It's not just about paper bills, it's about the possibility of life-changing events for people who have been waiting and hoping for so long. The bigger picture for Iraq is equally important. Introducing lower denominations could send a message to the international community that Iraq is serious about economic reform. It could attract more trade partners, more investment, and more stability. A stronger, more practical currency could help rebuild public confidence and set the stage for broader financial growth. For banks, it would mean handling one of the most significant transitions in the country's recent history, dealing with both domestic customers and the surge of international attention that would follow such a move. Still, there are questions, lots of them. Are these lower notes already printed? Are banks truly ready to move forward? And if everything is in place, what exactly are we waiting for? The lack of clear answers keeps the conversation alive and keeps speculation running high. Every day, without an official announcement, feels like another day closer to the possible unveiling. And in the currency world, anticipation can sometimes be just as powerful as the event itself, keeping people engaged and watching closely for the next piece of news. Some believe that this kind of readiness means we are in the final stages before something major happens. Others think it could still take months or even longer before the public sees the impact. But either way, the discussion about lower denominations and bank preparation shows no sign of slowing down. The energy is building. The community is alert and eyes are firmly locked on Iraq to see what happens next. If the signals are right, we may be closer to the next big chapter in the dinar story than at any point in recent years. Whether you've been following the Iraqi dinar for decades or you're just starting to watch the story unfold, this is one of the most interesting moments in a long time. The combination of talk about new lower notes and banks being ready feels like the pieces are lining up for something significant. The question now is not whether change will come, but when it does, it could reshape the conversation about Iraq's place in the global financial world. Until then, the anticipation remains high. The speculation continues. and the community waits for that one announcement that could change everything.